I will say this at the game Saturday, and it was before the loss.
Yeah.
Mike Norvell gets a huge pop from the students. When he's announced, man, he gets as big a cheer as anybody.
Yeah.
Now that's probably carryover from the Alabama game, but even after the Virginia loss, like he gets a huge pop. It's as big as anybody. Now you lose that game, and that obviously changes things. But
might be different at 11:45 a.m. this Saturday when they announce his name. Might not be as big a pop.
But I like that you're monitoring that the same way that over the years we came to trust that you were looking closely with the sidelines. Yep. You were always checking those sidelines. But I'm not even kidding. I always appreciated that. Let's continue. Let's monitor the pop.
Yeah.
For Mike Norvell. I have a feeling, as Corey just suggested, it may be lacking this Saturday. Maybe not to the degree. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's overwhelmingly different. Just a little bit decibel lower than what we heard.
And I heard you guys talk, and I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to your segment on Jeff's show that often anymore because I want it to be fresh.
You made that clear. Here. You're not even sure that there is a Jeff Cameron show.
Yeah, it is on, and it's doing great.
Yeah.
So I hear that when you were, I just had a point. I can't remember what it was. It's
just like to disparage me.
No, it's like the people bringing up last year to complain about this year when they're two completely different things. At the same time, sort of like you can understand why people now are, man. Yes, he's only 0-2 this year in conference, but he is 1-9 in his last 10 or whatever. And you can say it's a completely different team, and I agree with you. Because there's no reason this team can't go win 5 or 6 ACC games. None. They probably should at least win 5 of them. But until he does, this is what he is. This is what he is to a majority of the fan base, I think.
I get that. And I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying I don't like the way it's presented sometimes as if this is new information.
Yeah.
They went 2-10.
Yeah.
We watched them win 1 ACC game. What could their record be?
And also,
if best case scenario, they could be 3-7 right now in the last 10
and they would still be even if they were 5-0, he'd still be 7-10 in his last 17 games. Right. You know what I mean? Like that 2-10 is an anchor though.
That's what I'm saying. But my point is, like, once you decided to bring him back, we can't just keep doing that every time something bad happens, because it's like if you're in a relationship and
put yourself there, Jeff.
You've been in some tough times, you've had some bad moments, but you've decided
put yourself there.
Maybe you have that big meeting with your spouse. I'm not saying this has ever happened in my house.
A big meeting? What is that? A big meeting with your spouse?
Well, not a formal meeting, but
you
have that real conversation where you're like, okay, let's talk about things. Like,
we are having a problem here, and here.
What's bothering you? Why are you being like this? And then they'll say, well, I'm being like this because of this. And then you go through those things, and then like you clear the air and say, okay, I'm going to be better about this. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make these changes. And then the first time or second time you screw something up, you start bringing back all that other stuff. It's like, man, that's not fair.
That's not who I am anymore.
Well, you're trying.
Yeah.
And this coaching staff, this administration is trying to go in a new direction. I think they've made vast improvements. I don't think there's any question about that. So when people just, as soon as you lose another game, it's like bringing up that's to me, that's not that relevant. They made huge mistakes last year. That's obvious. They've admitted it. Now they're moving on. I just don't like you bringing that up all the time. It just doesn't, to me, it's not constructive. It's just throwing dirt to throw dirt.
Yeah, I think the problem is that in a relationship analogy, you're in a position directly, you specifically are in a position to make an impact on what happens moving forward. And I think in the case of a fan, the administration made the decision to bring him back. There's probably a contingent of people who are really pissed about that. Right. And so they're going to reach back and say, well, we were already mad, and now this continues. And they're going to bring up the things that they were mad about to begin with. Yeah, I think if you were in favor of bringing him back, it'd be silly to go back and say, well, listen, he lost a lot of ACC games last year. Yeah, if you were in favor of him coming back, then you don't get to really bring that up. But for people who were already not in favor of that, they're like, well, here we go. More evidence of the same thing that I was already pissed about.
I don't know of anybody who thought that they should pay him $60 million.
Well, they knew they couldn't. Right. That's the thing. It's like you may not – I said at the time, and I'll stand by this, that in any other era, you go 2-10 at FSU, you should be fired on the spot. But they could not fire him. They couldn't afford to fire him, and they weren't going to fire him. And so we just knew that was the reality. So you had to discuss what was and not what ought to be and all those sorts of things. I do think it is, I think he's put immense pressure now on himself and this team for Saturday, because you lose to Pitt, all bets are off. I don't know that there would be, even his most staunch supporters at that point would say, well, you've lost every ACC game you've played this year. Great, you beat Alabama. You've yet to win a conference game. Nobody would be defending him, not vehemently or any other way,
right?
If they lose to Pitt. It is bitterly disappointing, not that you lost to Miami, which you brought up yesterday, Ira, when we were talking. I made the point about being disappointed that they were, it was a lopsided affair, and Miami's clearly ahead of Florida State now. But I said this is all the more exacerbated because they lost to Virginia. And that was my main point. Like, you couldn't lose that Virginia game because now you've lost 2 straight and you're up against it going against Pitt. Had you beaten Virginia and you had that Alabama win in your back pocket, you'd be like, well, it's disappointing. It's a bigger picture conversation that you're further behind Miami than you should be. However, go run the table and you have 1 loss against the top 3 team. I mean, nobody's going to be that pissed other than you need to catch up. The problem is you did lose to Virginia, and you did turn it over and you did get down and you did make those mistakes. And now you can't afford to falter anywhere here. You got to win this game. It's another home game. You're better than Pitt. Nobody's out spending you on Pitt's sideline. There's no excuses whatsoever. If you lose to Pitt, there's no defending the guy.
No, you need to be 6-2 going to Clemson. That has to happen, and
which is likely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probable.
It's not more likely.
It's very favorable. Definitely possible.
Yeah, it seems. Well, it's not only possible; it ought to be.
Yeah, and the challenge with evaluating Norvell to me is there's so many circumstances that are so unique to his era in college football. And like the Jimbo Love Fest from this weekend was a little tough to stomach.
Well,
because
and by the way, that's now when you lose, this is what happens. You got a contingent of the fan base like, bring Jimbo back, revisionist history and all this other stuff.
And again, the world that Jimbo recruited that roster in does not exist anymore. Okay, you're not creating a super team just by being a good recruiter. And so the teams that have the super teams are the teams that are spending the most money. Like that's empirical data. There's nobody just recruiting Jameis Winston and all those guys in this era with an average budget.
Also, I would push back on a super team. I don't think that even exists anymore.
It may not. Teams. It may not.
Georgia's really good.
So you're
pining, ain't that good.
So you're pining away for something, and just like and that's just not just about Jimbo. There's a thread on our message boards about what was Bowden, like what was the key to his success? Well, that era is not coming back.
Oh man, that's a very different era.
Yeah. Florida State, Miami got those. Anybody that was good in this state was coming to one of those 3 schools. Well, that era is gone. So I just think your whole, you compare. What are we comparing him to? It's also difficult to judge him because, again, people will bring up the career ACC record. Well, man, I don't know how many coaches are having success those first 2 years with the cards he was dealt those first 2 years. Now, last year's all on him, 100% on him. But you come in after the Jimbo Willie mess and in COVID, I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so he's off to a rough start with that, and some things were out of his control.
Right. So that's where I'm like, so that makes it difficult. But last year's totally on him, and if this year goes sideways too, it's all on him.
And I think that's why we think Saturday. If they lose Saturday, I'm 100% convinced it's going to go sideways. If they win on Saturday, I think there's a good chance they get to 9 wins and 10 wins if they play in a bowl.
Definitely possible.
I think both of those are possible. I almost think it's a flip of the coin, like how this season goes, because as I wrote in the column after the game, it's like, and thank you so much for publicizing that, Jeff. I do appreciate that. When he doesn't get benefit of the doubt either way. You can't assume it's going to go right. You can't assume it's going to go wrong because he's got history doing both. So I literally have no idea where this team will go. No idea where it will go.
I'll take a page out of the Corey Clark playbook and say, I didn't read it.
Right. So I know.
I have no way of knowing what you wrote.
I know. It was really good. Ira, tell him you read it. It was really good.
I saw it.
It was really good.
I think I read it.
Is he still writing for us?
Does
he do anything for Warchant? Does he do anything? So, I mean, the problem is, and Ira, to your point, is that there are some things that are completely out of control and in control, and you can say, well, gosh, you can't hold that against him. And then he's done enough damage to himself. You can't be some of the losses on his ledger are abominations.
Yeah,
where you're like, man, come on, brother. And
but none this year.
No,
none this year.
No abominations. This year.
Well, I mean, losing at Virginia isn't. They're 18th in the country, and you lost in double overtime. Yes, you should beat Virginia. You spend more than them. Look around the country, man.
Than them.
But every team that loses, not every team. There's a lot of teams that lose on Saturdays that have the better players. That just happens. It's just that they keep you can't stack on now bad, inexcusable losses on top of excusable losses. And he gave himself no leeway.
Right.
Yeah, no, the wiggle room is gone.
It's gone. It's gone.
Now, I also think that there's a real good chance they go out and play well on Saturday and win.
Pummel them.
Pummel
them.
Well, it'd be good.
Wouldn't it be fun to pummel them?
It'd be nice. I think it would be a breath of fresh air. But win that game and then win your next game, and then you got to bye. Then you got Wake Forest. Really, there's no good reason anyhow, that you won't be 6-2.
Right.
And if you're 6-2, then obviously everything looks a little bit rosier. You feel a little bit better, and then you have a big tilt against Clemson, and that'll, again, we'll reconsider where we're at. But yeah, he's got to now have a good season. I think you got to get to 8-9 wins. 9 wins would be preferable at this point. I mean, if you beat Alabama,
what do you mean he's got to?
In order to keep favor with the fans.
Okay, but not for his job.
Nobody's firing the guy with what they owe.
With 9
unless
wins.
He goes 6-6 or 7-5.
6-6 and that's on the table if you lose this week. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah, what I'm saying is keeping favor with the fans and having the support of the big boosters,
keeping the recruits.
Yeah, the recruits and the boosters and the money folk and all that. You got it. You got to have a good season. And actually, you positioned yourself so wonderfully by beating Alabama to have said good season.
Mm-hmm.
To piss it away would be a tragedy. Yeah. And that would mean that you lost to somebody who isn't as good as you, like you already did with Virginia. And it would mean you likely had another loss to somebody who isn't as good as you, which is, at some point you just say enough's enough, man. You lose too many games against teams that ought not beat you. Miami's a team that's better than you right now. That's a different conversation. And I hate that part of it too, but that's more forgivable. This other stuff, man, it can't happen. You got to stop doing that.
And maybe it has. Maybe that was, and maybe the Virginia game was the last game that happened.